Guys, if you plan to attend any anime convention in the near future, I will really save your money and hold off. Because anime cons are simply no fun anymore. Primarily due to the coronachan restrictions and the coronachan restrictions they self-imposed. Lots of anime cons and fan conventions are mandating masks even if you're fully vaccinated. So for some of us, there is no real incentive to be vaccinated for these conventions if they demand you wear a mask. And for a lot of these conventions, they don't have any exception for these mask wearing. They're becoming increasingly strict to a point where the only way you can move your mask is if you're eating or drinking or you're presenting at a panel. Basically, you'll be required to wear a mask 14 hours a day. And really, it's no fun. It's no fun at all wearing a mask 14 hours a day. And as a photographer, wearing a mask or seeing someone with masks basically ruins the convention experience because it's all about social interaction. People without masks, before the Great Lockdown, people at anime cons are more social, they're more energetic, they're more fun. But post lockdown, with all these conventions being coronachan woke, they're basically no fun. The convention vibes, the energy, the atmosphere is completely and utterly gone. If there's barely any left, people barely talk to each other. People are not really photogenic as much. But here's the thing. People who don't wear masks, they're more likely to get photographs than people with masks. It's a thing. Because when I see a person with a mask, I hesitate in taking a photo of a cosplayer. But when I do see someone without a mask, I won't be that hesitant at all. Now, there are some cosplayers that do wear a mask where I have to take the photo of since I see it as a real cosplay. And every time I ask for that photo, I also ask for the person without the mask. And it's worth knowing that 99% of them do take off their mask. But with rules becoming increasingly strict, especially for MaskFest 2022, where you're not allowed to take off your mask for any reason unless you're eating or drinking. It basically sucks up all the fun and some anime cons. And there's gonna be rarely any spontaneous events or spontaneous interactions or decisive moments happens during these conventions because they're basically telling people not to linger around all hallways. Not to linger around the hallways for photos or for any interactions, or even in areas where there are space everywhere you can stand inside. You basically have to move on constantly. And staffers will be embracing this power to demand people wear a mask, even if you're fully vaccinated, along with checking your badge. And the actual panels and content is it's not gonna be like it used to be. Always we've seen deals halls always half as they used to be, or the artist alley in deals hall overpriced. And like in Gen Con, most of the big dealers have already went away. They already went away, or they decided to pull out of this year's convention. And I think they're going to pull out of next year's conventions as well because they found out it's a lot easier to do their operations online and do their presentations online through live streaming than to do it in person. So conventions as a whole are going to shrink in size. And there's another thing about the content of the conventions as well. even the you know Tokyo Attack, Tokyo Attack, the video game, the arcade provider that's been the backbone of many anime conventions in the East Coast. It's gone. It's never coming back. And the founder of Tokyo Attack used coronachan as an excuse to retire because in reality, he was a sex pest. You can find the information online through Facebook or through Twitter, but it's safe to say that Tokyo Attack is gone. So a lot of arcade rooms and video game rooms are going to be a lot smaller than usual, or you won't be able to see or play as much arcade games as we used to be. So there's going to be a huge hole in Japanese arcade games in anime conventions and fan conventions. So in reality, and so basically, if you plan to attend any anime convention, I would really hold off. Unless you really have to go, or if you are a dealer, or artist where you have to make money, or seriously, or unless you really had to go to see a celeb or a panelist. I will not really attend any anime convention or fan convention anytime soon. And there are a lot of people who realize that conventions are no fun. They're not fun anymore due to these self-imposed restrictions. And they decide to quit altogether. They're done. Now there are a few conventions that are not gone coronachan woke. And they're hell-bent on operating as normal as possible. CrossCon East is operating as normal. It's mask optional, even though they ask people to wear a mask. You can opt out of it, so I'm assuming that if you're not wearing a mask, you're exempt. Anime Matsuri, which was highly successful, due to the fact that people are so con-stars and contemplars that they're willing to travel to Texas for a convention. Just to be with people. And also, there's going to be CrossCon Texas, which at this point is hell-bent on operating as normal, since they're in Texas. It's worth knowing that there are people that in other conventions, that they're in other small conventions, that they will not announce their health and safety policies until the last minute. Fans did the same thing. They actually announced their restrictions 3 weeks before the convention started. There's going to be a lot of conventions that will not be operating as normal. Now, here's the good news. As predicted, the conventions that impose self-imposed coronachan restrictions, they are doing. They're basically less lively, or have less attendance as usual. Even if not in total, then at least it's noticeable on Friday and Sunday. Otakon, even though they had 26 or 25,000 attendees, it was mostly active on Saturday. It wasn't as less lively on Friday, and convention activity was completely dead on Sunday. Otakon had less attendance as usual. Station Unity was completely dead on arrival on their first convention due to their Super coronachan woke restrictions and the fact that it was scheduled during Otakon. And yes, PAX West. PAX West, even though it might be a bit active on Saturday, the convention was basically dead and a shell of itself on Friday and Sunday. I think there was people attending the convention on Saturday because there was a major fire game tournament, but it was all Super coronachan woke. Even the presenters were wearing masks, even though the convention required proof of vaccination. So it's really just a massive virtue signal. So in reality, conventions are not as lively anymore. Conventions are just as are basically being boring. And again, a lot of convention goers that routinely go to these conventions once every year or once every 3 months in a designated circuit of the area, like in the DC Metropolitan Circuit. There's Otakon, Anime USA, Capsicon, and MagFest. They're just going to sit this year out. Or they're going to travel to conventions that are hell-bent on operating as normal, or at the bare minimum, if they're actually imposing a vaccine requirement, they'll at least have the option of not wearing a mask if you're fully vaccinated. So here's my suggestion. Here's my 2 suggestions. One, just skip out of attending any anime conventions for the foreseeable future. If you have any friends that are not swept up with the coronachan hysteria, I would really suggest meeting up every week, or just renting a small room in a hotel, or in a conference room. Have your own mini convention. Have video game playing, anime showings. Have a place you can just sit and relax and sleep and eat all day, read manga while having a TV show in the background, TV anime show in the background. There's nothing stopping anyone from having a small mini convention in a hotel room, or renting a small hotel room, a small hotel conference room, and just have a 24-hour, 48-hour, 72-hour get together. And another thing is basically go to any convention that is hell-bent on operating as normal. Coronachan East is operating, I think, either next week or this week. And Coronachan Texas will be operating through the 19th or 21st of November. And by which rest of the conventions, rest of the final anime conventions, are just going to be super coronachan woke at their own expense, because a lot of conventions are financially in the red right now, and they would do better if they just told people we're just going to be operating as normal. If you're sick, just stay home. We just encourage everyone to vaccinate, but no, they're willing to risk going bankrupt. And I think we're going to see a lot of anime conventions and fan conventions collapsing or going out of business as a result of their virtue signaling. Luckily, in 2020, 2021, there were no conventions that went out of business. In 2021, however, there was one convention in Pennsylvania that went out of business due to the coronachan hysteria that caused the panelists, even though they're very vaccinated, to pull out. And that one convention in Central PA is officially out of business. The name will be kept by the convention owner, but there won't be any conventions of that name anytime soon, if ever. So that's what I gotta say, guys. Thanks for watching. Please give a like and subscribe. Ring the bell for notifications. Tell us what you think about this video in the comments. Do you think anime cons are no longer fun because of the coronachan restrictions, or because of the fact that they're just boring now? Because I agree that standard anime convention fare is not going to be enough to bring back people who have skipped out of the 2021 anime convention season, and those who cannot attend any convention due to the great lockdowns. This is JK from the Ministry of Otaku speaking. I hope you have a good weekend.